Evening, everyone. This is Brendan Magnan, Chair of the Inlands Wetlands Agency, calling to order the June 5th regular meeting of the Inlands Wetlands Agency. Lisa, please call the roll.
Daniel Bedecker, Ranjit Bahav, Brian Black.
Here.
Jim Connors.
Here.
Matthew Connors.
Here.
Steve Munson.
Here.
Nick Ritchie.
Here.
Julie Valvo.
Here.
Buddy Field.
Here.
Brendan Magnan.
I'm here as well. Thank you. Mr. Field, could you please serve as voting alternate this evening?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, as we begin this evening's meeting and continue to host these meetings via Zoom, please be sure to mute yourselves after we do the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment and wait to be recognized by me as the chair before speaking. When recognized, please state your name for the record, and all questions should go through me as the chair. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to unmute themselves and stand and join me in reciting this Pledge of Allegiance. And Mary Rose is going to show the flag. Here we go. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
which stands one nation
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If everyone could mute themselves, that was very nice. Flag Day is coming up in the month of June. Opening up for public comments. Is there anyone here wishing to address the agency on topics not otherwise on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Mary Rose, can you introduce this one, please?
This is item D1. It's for Willem Court. It is IW 240045, and it's an application for the construction of a single-family home by R&R Living Trust with construction and grading within 150 feet of a wetlands associated with Beaver Brook. The agency approved a single-family home on this lot at the time of the original subdivision. The proposed house has a different configuration than that was this evening's proposed house has a different configuration than that was approved at that time. The agency saw an earlier version of this proposal in the spring. Since then, the property owners received a variance from the ZBA to move the house to the east. This application proposes a house that's 7.6 feet off of the conservation easement line and 27 feet off of the wetland line adjacent to Beaver Brook. All work proposed is outside of the conservation easement on the property. The city engineer has reviewed the plans and requested additional information from Mr. Rizza and his engineer, Fred D'Amico, this morning. Mr. Rizza is with us tonight, and I can share those plans with you. They are in the document along with the application.
Okay, Mary Rose, can you pull up the plan just before we invite Mr. Rizza to add more to the record? Just give us an orientation to the plan, please.
Yep. All right, so this is the new proposed house. It has moved to within 10 feet of the eastern property line. The driveway will now come straight in instead of going to the side and parking under. So the house is equally moved away from the conservation easement line. The rear corner will be 7.6 feet away. The front corner is marginally more than that. All measurements on this side of the property, being the front or rear corner or the front of the stormwater system and the discharge from the stormwater system, are about 27 feet from this wetland line that's along the edge of Beaver Brook.
Great, Mary Rose, thanks very much. That's quite clear. Mr. Rizza, do you want to add anything to the record?
No, I think it's all there.
Okay. Do we have, so just before we open up for any questions tonight, we can ask questions, we can take no action, we can request additional information, although it sounds like the engineer has already done that. We can schedule a site walk, schedule a public hearing. So with those options in mind, I'd open it up for discussion from the agency.
Is it possible, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Connors.
Is it possible, Mary Rose, to pull up the previous plans just in comparison? I don't have them on me. I was just wondering if you have.
The original plan?
Yeah, just to see what changes specifically.
This was the original. I can, if you give me a second, I can pull the ones from March.
Yeah, the ones from March are the ones I was referencing. Sorry.
Just give me a second to find those. If you'd like, I don't know if everyone's had time to review it, but I have the city engineer's recommendations. I can show them while I'm pulling that other plan.
Appreciate
If you could, please.
Normally, the manner of the city engineer's memos are as he reviews everything that he's reviewed, speaks to the regulations he's speaking to, and then it boils down to a set of recommendations at the end. What you're seeing now is just that set of recommendations, but the whole document is in the record.
Thank you. Any other questions from the agency?
No.
Mayor Rose, given that this is an application, are we considering this a new application receiving this evening, and therefore we cannot take action this evening?
That is true. Because the other application was denied, it's closed. And the appeal period is long expired. So this is a new application.
Okay, so it's incumbent upon everybody to raise any questions between now and the next meeting so that we can take a vote. Any observations that the agency would like to share?
Does this house have a, Brandon, through you?
Yeah.
Does this house have a full basement or is it a slab?
Through Mr. Chair, I believe it has a full basement. What you're seeing right now is the plan that we had before us in April.
Right.
Mr. Connors had Matthew Connors had wanted to see that house.
Okay,
If you notice, it has a side entry garage, and it was very close to the conservation easement line.
I think it's better we concentrate our efforts on the existing application, Mary Rose.
Alrighty.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Can we just address Mr. Connor's earlier question?
Yeah, he had wanted to see the differences, so we showed this plan. Give me 1 second to get the other plan back up. It's not showing. So let me stop the share. There we go. Close this one. That's fine. Okay. There we are. So this is the plan that is before you this evening. It shows the house 7.6 feet off of the conservation easement line. It has the driveway coming straight in instead of around to the side. And it now has a 10-foot setback on the right-hand side or the east side. The dashed dotted lines that you see here would be the normal building envelope. This distance from this line, the dashed line, to the solid line of the house is what was varied by the Zoning Board of Appeals. To answer Mr. Jim Connor's question.
I asked that because of the height of the water or the elevation of the water in Beaver Brook there versus the floor of that basement. It could be below that and it'd be constant water problem.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the city engineer did raise that He noted it, that the engineer should look at it. They are noting that they've got a pump pit, although I believe Mr. Rizza said it's not going to go in this direction. It's going to come from the basement to the front of the house into this drainage galley system. But the galley system itself is about 3 foot higher than the basement, and it's only about 4 feet off of the house. And that could recycle a problem for Mr. Rizza. He needs to review that with his engineer to make sure he's not having to run a pump constantly to keep the water from his roof that goes into a stormwater system out of his basement.
Right, I'm thinking about the river or the brook.
Yep, the brook is shown, the side of the brook is shown at 107.3, and the basement is shown at 107.
That's pretty close,
So,
especially if you get high water in Beaver Brook.
I
And there-
believe one of the things the city engineer asked for was a perk test for this stormwater system, which could be done at the time the system's put in, to ensure that the water table isn't too high. And if the applicant and his engineer feel that they want to run a pump in the basement, I guess they can. The city engineer has pointed it out
Right.
so that they can
Well,
raise the
okay, I'm just
question and
thinking
have a
of-
discussion.
I'm thinking of it on the practical side, because that's not a good situation with dampness. That's all.
so thank you for raising
Nothing
that.
to do with our wetlands, but
Thank you for raising that. Mr. Munson, you have your hand up. I'd like to recognize you.
Yes, I think, I guess there's a question for Mary Rose. I think that issue that Commissioner Connor brought up is, I think that's what the engineer is raising in recommendation I,
Yes.
or possibly E. Yeah, okay. Okay. That's what I thought. Actually, I had a question. And when I was reading these before, I had a question about how that was going to be determined. So that recommendation would, am I correct in saying that that recommendation should answer the question about whether or not there is a problem between the two? Is that?
The interesting thing, if I understand it correctly from the city engineer, if someone wants to build a house at the water table, we can't necessarily stop them. We can just advise them that there could be issues. And that's a risk that they may be willing to take, but every subsequent owner is then taking that risk and going to have to deal with the dampness in the basement. If they and their engineer want to spend the electricity to run a pump constantly, that could be their choice. It's not, I don't believe it's something the city regulates. It's something that the city engineer pointed out, feeling that it was responsible as an engineer to point it out.
Yeah, is that what the engineer is saying in recommendation J? I think.
It is recommended but not required by this department, right?
Right.
The city engineer
Yeah, in
can't
other words, he's
require
not-
you to raise it. That's, if it's a risk the homeowner wants to take, it's the risk the homeowner wants to take.
Yep. Can I just ask for a pause? Mr. Rizza, did you want to comment on this?
Yes, I did, Mr. Magnum. Thank you for giving me a chance. I've already talked to the excavator and the engineer regarding that very issue, and we've all decided that there probably should come up another foot to 108. However, I'm definitely putting in footing drains on the outside, and I've also talked to the excavator about putting drains under the floor, all leading to a sump pump, just in case.
Mhm.
Because the last thing I want is water in the cellar.
That's wise. I can just make an observation that I think you're hearing some practical concerns. We've got to concern ourselves with the wetlands, which are in close proximity. So whatever stormwater mitigation system you do put in, and the design of the basement needs to be designed in such a way where it's not having any adverse impacts to the nearby water courses. And I would just make the observation that, that particular area is well known to have water issues in those homes.
Yes, I understand that.
It's common knowledge.
Yep.
So with that in mind, Mr. Matthew Connors, if this is an issue unrelated to this, please, let's move on to another topic.
No, I was just clarifying as to why I brought up the previous plan, is I wanted to compare the impermeable surface to the permeable surface and the changes of the driveway. So when you asked for observations, I just wanted to state that I do appreciate some of the changes that Mr. Rizza made in that sense. And then I just wanted to continue to ask that question, just for the record, as to, I know he said he had to take down the fence previously, so there is no touching of the fence and no taking down of the fence for this current build, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, and great, very good point, Mr. Connors, on the first point you made. That's great. Good observation.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Hold on, Mr. Field. I'm going to go
Okay.
to Mr. Ritchie. He had his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Ritchie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just on the mitigation, the stormwater mitigation coming out from the basement, there's a 6-inch PVC overflow valve with slotted cover, I think I see on the plans. Is that heading toward the wetlands? It looks like it's going, yeah, right there. That would be a concern of mine, just in case there is a, springtime, it's raining heavily, that fills up, where's that water going to go from there? And I concur with the city engineer's points on G and I concerning the mitigation of potential construction debris into the wetlands, which is not listed on here.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. There are comments on the first point?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. The city engineer did ask for some erosion controls at the outfall of the stormwater system. It's typical that most engineers, if not all, will design a fail-safe in a stormwater system. This system is to be designed, and the design needs to be checked. It was designed previously for the 2002 stormwater manual, which was recently updated in 2024. So where the 2002 manual required the retention of the first 1 inch of rainfall, the 2024 manual addressing the larger volume of the storms that we get now requires the retention of the first 1.3 inches of rain. So I don't know. I don't know if this engineer has updated the stormwater system and forgot to change the reference to the 2002 stormwater 2002 stormwater manual to the 2024 manual, or if he may need to add another galley or two onto the system. At any rate, this system is to be designed to hold the first inch of water for a 100-year storm event for the amount of impervious surface increase on this lot over what was previous there. This lot used to have a barn on it, or garage. So those calculations were done to determine how much it would have. This subdivision is supposed to have a stormwater association for the homeowners. And part of that requirement is that each stormwater system for each lot holds 1/14 of the stormwater for the impervious value of the road. And that maintenance and the maintenance of the system in the street is for that stormwater association, because they designed something that's not typical for the city of Milford. It's not something that we maintain or have the equipment to maintain. So the city engineer has asked Fred D'Amico, the engineer for this project, to take a look at this system, make sure it's designed to the state's current standards, and that to put riprap at the end of these outfalls. So in the event that we get a greater than 100-year event, water will come out of this system. It will be perked out slowly, but it will be dissipated through the riprap and it'll head across the vegetation in this area, and it will get to the stream and as a natural outlet.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Ms. Valvo. You're on mute.
Sorry. I know that one of the biggest issues that we had with the original plan proposed to us was that with the placement of the home so close to the wetlands, that there was going to be no way to avoid interruption and disturbance of the wetlands when the home was built. Are we comfortable that the 7.6 feet now proposed brings that house out far enough to avoid disruption during the excavation and such?
Careful.
That's a good question.
Mr. Chair, may I comment on that, please?
Mr. Field, go ahead.
Through the chair, 7.6 feet is enough. I built the house across the street and I had 6.2 feet at the closest point, and we had no problem whatsoever. There was enough space. It was similar to this situation. I definitely feel this plan is much better than what was originally came in. And I also concur what Mary Rose also said about the overflow, because that is a general practice that we do today for the engineers to design it accordingly. The 7.6 feet, looking at this plan, is more than enough. The fence is there to prevent anyone from going in it. And as such, what we could also require instead of silt fences, wood chips are great to use. It's a great barrier. That's just a practical point, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Field. Did you also have a question you wanted to ask? You had raised your hand earlier. Or was it?
No, that was it. I just wanted to say this plan is much better than the previous one. It definitely, gives more than enough area to work in between the corner of the house and the fence that is up.
Thank you. Mr. Munson?
Yeah, technically, the 7.6 feet is to the conservation easement, but the wetlands are further away. Because
Correct.
as I remember this, the wetlands are actually only along the edge of the river. And technically it's more than 7.6 feet from wetlands. It's only 7.6 from the conservation easement.
Yes, it's 27 feet from the wetlands as per Mary Rose's
Right.
presentation earlier. Yep. I
Right.
believe
Because I remember this when we saw this a long time ago when the whole thing was started, that the wetlands were like, a foot or two from the creek itself.
Yeah. I believe Ms. Valvo's question was in relation to the easement. I believe that was the
Right.
question.
That is correct. I misspoke.
Well,
okay.
No. Well, I wasn't sure I was correct in what I just said until I took another hard look at it. So but that's what I always found odd about this. Mr. Chairman, I don't think we can do anything until the engineer sees, his recommendations complied with, obviously. I don't, just to maybe jump ahead a little bit, I don't think if we decide to do a site walk, it's obviously premature at this point. I don't know if we'd ever want to do it anyway. That's just an observation.
Yeah, I don't see a need for a site walk personally. I think we've seen this before and we know what the plan entails. But if the agency wants to do a site walk, we should declare that today because we don't want to hold up the applicant. But again, I don't believe one is necessary given what we have before us.
I'm not sure one's well, I like site walks. I think they do a lot of good, but they're not always necessary, obviously.
Right. Any other observations?
I don't think we'd see anything on a sidewalk that we aren't seeing on the plan.
Right. We've actually seen the site, most of us. Mr. Field, did you want to add anything?
No, I think at this point, a site walk is unwarranted.
Okay, I agree. All right, so unless there's any other questions, I think the sort of steer that we would give you, Mr. Rizza, is do your best to comply with the recommendations before the next meeting. If you're seeking approval from us, we won't be able to approve anything without those recommendations all tidied up and the plans, the plans representing all of the recommendations. That's not to say we will approve it, but that's just to set the expectation that we're not going to be in a position to approve it unless those recommendations are articulated fully in the plan. Understood?
Yes.
Just want to make sure it's clear so that you can continue to proceed with your plans. Okay? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming before us with the revision. It's a major improvement. Thank you. And we'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. There's no other discussion on that matter. I believe we don't need a motion to table it or to take no action. We could just agree that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you want, you can do a motion requesting the information from the city engineer's memo.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Just to formalize that. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll
I can
make the
make-
motion, Brandon.
Who did that?
Jim,
Jim Connors.
And what's the full motion, Mary Rose?
moves that the following information be submitted for review of the application 240045 for Willem Court. Information as requested in the city engineer's memo of 6/5/24.
Great. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Mary Rose, I'm sorry, Lisa, roll call vote.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Matthew Connors.
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Buddy Field,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. There you have it, Mr. Rizza. It's a formal motion. We'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, consideration of the previous minutes that were posted by the staff from May 15th, 2024. Do we have a motion to accept those as presented?
Make that.
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Connors, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, Lisa, roll call vote. Always trips me up.
Brian Black,
Abstain.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Abstain.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
I abstain.
Buddy Field.
Aye.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, aye.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks.
Okay.
Brendan Magnan.
You're welcome.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Item F on the agenda, Mary Rose, staff report.
Hi, office has been busy with minor inquiries, reviews. We've been working on reports for other departments. Mostly this time of year, we're getting sheds, decks, and pools, and reviews for minor additions, second story additions, that kind of stuff. There is still information in the notes about training. And we've gotten a couple of items in from the spring reports. Several of our past violations and projects require ongoing monitoring, and those monitoring reports come in May, June, July, and October, November. So the June reports are starting to come in. Some minor work is required for 8 Pepe's Farms Road. I think once that work is done, that will be ready for release of its violation. So you'll see that come back on the agenda to review to be able to release that violation. Other than that, there's a couple of larger projects working in the background, but none of them have come forward yet. So we'll see how that goes. There's a few violations we're potentially looking at. I'm working on the community rating system. We have a large deadline in the fall for an annual 5-year review. There's a synopsis in the notes, but a refresher is it's a program that helps people to understand flooding, to try to protect themselves from flooding. And if a number of items are done, the city gets a 5% discount for those members that need, their citizens that need flood insurance. The work I'm doing and working towards is hoping to get a better discount for the citizens in the fall. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, seeing no questions, moving on to Chair's report. Just a reminder, the next meeting is June 19th, right here on Zoom. Please let the office know if you're unable to attend. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Right, do we have a second?
I second that. I second it.
And second. Lisa, roll call vote.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors. Jim?
Aye.
Matthew
Aye.
Connors? I got it. Matthew Connors,
Okay. Sorry.
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Buddy Field,
Aye.
Brenda Magnan.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Thanks for your participation this evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Have a
You
good
too.
Thank you,
weekend, guys.
everybody.
Take care. Good night.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
all.
Thank you,
Lindsay,
Mara.
we're all done.